So this is how to make a deer antler grapevine wreath. So I got my antlers, I got my wreath I made, got thin wrapping wire, some foam, some moss, this is Spanish moss, and some flowers for later. But for right now, I'm cutting my foam down, and I'm getting them in. This is hot glue and an electric skillet. Good idea if you have to do it a lot, but be careful because clearly it burns. And get it really in there and then stick it on that son of a gun. You can do this with a hot glue gun too, but just make sure you stick them on there. And then in a second, we'll grab some wire, cut it down, bend it into the shape of that. You stab them in there, as I'm not showing, and then wrap them around. It's hard to do with one hand. Wrap that other end. Once you get them tight, you see I'm pressing it tight with one finger and then pressing it in there, stabbing it back in the foam. That will lock it in there. Do the same thing on the other side. And then I took that thin wrapping wire. You can pause it. And I slowed this down for y'all. But I wrapped it around, starting with one deer antler, wrapped it around one way, wrapped it clear around to the other side without getting it up in the front. Did all that messy work in the back, you'll see. And then made my way around the other side and just did that a few times. Made sure I got in the middle there. You can see it crossed. Here's my messy work in the back. And that's hot glue in there, guys. So don't get yucked out. Okay, and then I glue my Spanish moss to cover up the front. That gives you a base to be able to stick some stuff onto, so you could bring that up as far as you want. And here we go. We're going to start cutting our flowers. So just pick up whatever kind of flowers you want. I would recommend starting with your foliage like I'm doing first. And as you can see, I'm going to carry my leaves all the way up to the top. So right now, I'm just trying to hide my wires. Make sure that moss is in there real good. And you can see you can just kind of hold things. And I would start with lighter or darker colors first. And then make sure you're kind of going back and forth in between them to get a good balanced look. This is just the way that I like my wreaths, or one style of the way I like them, I guess. So if it's not the way that you like it, that's okay. And I also want to say, y'all, that this deer was ethically harvested, one shot, okay? And I'm trying to use every piece of him I can. So, if that's not you, that's okay. This is the way I live my life. And this little deer will be appreciated. Now you can see I've done most of my flowers. I'm sticking in some whites to balance out the darks like I was talking about earlier. And I'm making sure I get some leaves in there because that's kind of the look I'm going for. Real leafy, real springtime. But you still want them darker colors to kind of give it some depth. Otherwise it just looks like one of them big old flower poops, which is a look, but not the look I'm going for. And then I'm going to start working my way up with some leaves. I also want to add that, you see me jamming them in there. If you're working with grapevine, get them in between those folds. Just once you get your base layer on there, get it up in there with the moss, with the anything. You can even use kind of brushy type materials if you're doing a dry wreath for inside, dried flower wreath, for the inside, And also, if you're new to arrangements, these are called silk flowers. They're fake flowers. We also have dried flowers, but this is going to be an outdoor use wreath, I think. So I don't want to put something that's going to crumble away in a few weeks like dried arrangements would. Some things will last longer than others, but you will have to get a new one. And it's just not really worth it to put in that work for an outside wreath, especially if you're going to buy one. So, but these, on the other hand, this wreath can last really well outside because it's grapevine. And if you can find grapevine, you can make this wreath yourself. I can do a video on that too. But it will hold these things real well. And also in the rain, it will hold them real well. And then when it starts falling apart, because eventually it will, you can just take it all off and do it again. So this is a springtime version. That's why I'm doing this one. And then in the wintertime, we can take it all off and put little ornaments on them, and it'll be cute. Now I got most of my leaves, okay? I'm just trying to make it even. You can do that technique. I'm going to do it here in a second. Hang it on a wall, see what I'm missing, and walk my hot glue butt back and forth. But it's giving the look like, I want it to give. So I like it pretty good. And if you don't have a grapevine wreath and you're making one at home, make sure you put your loop to hang it on. Now I'm hitting it with white. And that's the real trick to any kind of art, but especially flower arrangements. You want to hit it with especially white. I know lighter colors are nice, but that white, as you can tell, really makes things pop. And if you spread it out, it can kind of help you draw your eye. That's kind of like your finisher. But I'm going to carry them all the way up around. Be real cute, real Mayday. Love it. I was just trying to clip that sucker's butt, but then he wanted to fall off. So I was like, let me just do it the right way. Don't you hate doing that, y'all? Don't you just want to be lazy? And these little white things are Queen's Anne's lace, but just cut up so they're singular if you're looking for a similar kind of look. This is it hanging up on the wall. Pretty sure I'm done with it. Might hit it with some more. Who knows? But